You don't stare at him. You don't ask him for an autograph. You do what he tells you to do. You don't question it. You just do it. Within 3 months of getting hired, Adrienne began cleaning Michael Jackson's bedroom. She said she told him she may not be the person for him, but he assured her that she was excellent and told her that loyalty means a lot and that she could be with him forever if she did a good job. So this woman, Adrienne, wasn't the only employee who was suspicious. She said they found Vaseline all over the property, in golf carts at the park, in Michael's bedroom, all over the ranch. And when she was asked by her 60 Minutes interviewer if there's any innocent explanation for all that Vaseline, she said, "I don't think so." Adrienne was highly disturbed too to see Michael's physical interaction with the kids. She said that he would pet them. Adrienne signed a non-disclosure agreement, as pretty much anyone working for a celebrity of that status would. So she signed an NDA while she was working for the pop star, and she was too afraid to come forward and talk about anything she saw. She even received large bribes and death threats to convince her to keep quiet about what she saw at the ranch. Of course, some of the boys who were victims at Neverland were interviewed now as adults. One victim said, "Every time we were together, it happened. There was no night that went by when I was with him that he didn't abuse me." Another man, Wade Robson, said that when he was a boy, Michael told him that if anyone ever found out what they were doing together, that he and Michael would go to jail for the rest of their lives. I mean, this is some serious manipulation. These are children. Of course they're too afraid to talk about what's going on because Michael told them they would go to jail. Robson and former child actor James Safechuck were the creators of the well-known documentary Leaving Neverland. It was all about their abuse there. It was a very controversial documentary, of course, because so many of Michael's diehard fans did not want to believe that he could be capable of such atrocities. Robson and Safechuck addressed this with incredible understanding, saying that when it was happening to them, they couldn't believe it either. Once again, of course they couldn't. They were kids. How were they supposed to know any better? It was hard to believe it was wrong because they were children, and Michael was so influential and seemed to attract people with his gentle kindness and charisma. Many others who were high up in the entertainment and music industry who knew and worked with Michael attested to his otherworldly charisma and said that it was impossible to not get caught up in the fantasy of his life. Jeannie Wolf is an entertainment journalist who followed Jackson closely and regarded him as the ultimate creative genius, but also observed a dark side, calling him spoiled. And she said that he used his fame and power in very loving, but also in very childish and mean ways, and that it was very easy for starstruck families and their kids to get sucked into his world. Jeannie says that Michael's eccentricity is what allowed him to get away with a lot. In the 1990s, busloads of children were invited to Neverland to see the park, ride the train, and visit the zoo. But many said that there were always a few select boys who received special attention. One in particular who we all know is Macaulay Culkin. Adrienne made a deposition about Macaulay's case. If you're unfamiliar with Culkin's case, he denies that any abuse ever occurred during his time spent with Michael. Another young male actor, Jordan Chandler, accused Jackson of abusing him during sleepovers at Neverland. And Adrienne, the maid, said she saw Michael touching Jordan inappropriately multiple times. Police ended up investigating the abuse allegations, and Chandler's family launched a civil case where Adrienne testified she had never seen anything. Now, of course, she wants to spread the truth, but at the time, she was scared for her life if she did. She said that Jackson called her at her home and demanded to know what Adrienne had told the investigators. She knew she probably shouldn't be telling him, but she was so afraid that she did. And later, he paid her off for covering for him. She ended up telling him, and later he paid her off for covering him with a note that said, "Thanks for your loyalty," that included $300 in it. I mean, to be that rich and pay someone off to cover up your horrible secrets for only $300? That's insane to me. I mean, he's clearly playing with fire and obviously not okay. Jackson was never charged with molesting Jordan Chandler, but Chandler and his family received a $20 million settlement from Michael, which to me is the exact definition of where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, a $20 million settlement to not say anything? That should be proof enough itself. Soon after Michael Jackson settled this case, things at Neverland took a turn for the worst for the staff. His bodyguards threatened the staff and told them if they ever came out with information on TV that they would slice their neck and hide their bodies. In 2003, Jackson made a huge mistake by inviting a journalist named Martin Bashia to visit his amusement park at Neverland. The documentary was a disaster for Jackson, revealing his disturbing behavior with his children, especially his newest baby, Blanket. Remember when he covered his baby's head with a towel and dangled him over a hotel room balcony in Berlin? Yeah, well, if you can even believe it, things get even worse. In some interviews in this documentary, Michael is chaotically bouncing Blanket on his knees while feeding him a bottle and frantically telling the baby not to cry. It's a really uncomfortable scene to watch. Michael's defending lawyer, who still claims Michael is totally innocent, says the documentary was designed to make Michael look bad. Really? I mean, come on, the facts are the facts. It does all look really bad. In one part of the documentary, Michael is interviewed with his young male friend, Gavin Avizo, a 12-year-old who was recovering from cancer when Michael befriended him. Martin Bashia asked the boy about the sleeping arrangements at Neverland, and Gavin says, "He finally said, okay, if you love me, you'll sleep on the bed." I was like, aw man, and then I finally slept on the bed. All the while, Michael is sitting next to the boy laughing at the story. I mean, this is beyond creepy. Bashia then asks Michael what, as a 44-year-old man, he gets out of sharing his bed with young boys. Michael responds by asking, "Why can't you share your bed? The most loving thing to do is to share your bed with someone." I mean, come on, you guys. This is a chilling video to watch, and this poor boy is basically admitting that he was coerced into sleeping in Michael's bed with him. After the documentary was broadcasted, Michael accused Bashia of betraying his trust. Police then raided Neverland and searched every building and every room. Jackson was arrested and charged. I remember when this happened. I mean, the world was shocked. It's amazing how much fame and power can make people do anything to believe their idol is innocent. But in this case, the evidence is literally everywhere. I mean, it's on tape. It seems pretty undeniable. I mean, it should be undeniable, but we'll get to that in a second. So let's revisit Adrienne McManus, Jackson's housemaid. She now claims she's been left penniless after her 4 years working at Neverland. She left in 1994 and sued Jackson for wrongful termination and lost. Then, Jackson's estate accused Adrienne of stealing belongings from Neverland to sell to the media for profit. She says she did take a sketch of Elvis that she found in the trash and sold it, which the Jackson estate labeled as theft and was ordered to pay $34,000 to make up for it. She never paid the money, so now people believe her credibility falters. I mean, I don't know about that. She saw a bunch of creepy, disturbing shit going on and then just took a sketch from the trash, and that makes her credibility worse? I'm not sure I agree with that part. Again, at her trial in 1993, she lied under oath by saying that Michael didn't have any concerning behavior whatsoever. But she clarifies now that it was because she had literally received death threats by Michael's bodyguards if she spoke out. I mean, these guys told her, "We'll slit your neck." I would lie too. In the 60 Minutes interview, she's asked how she can be trusted now. And she replies, "I know the truth. I can sleep very good at night. I'm happy I did what I did by standing up and trying to do the right thing." Jackson's lawyer, Tom Mazzaro, says that these were all lies about Michael because people constantly want to exploit people with power, fame, and money and see their downfall. In the same interview, this guy also goes on to say that he thinks that people in the Me Too movement have gone too far and feel too comfortable coming forward to accuse people. I mean, I can't believe how much wrong there is with that statement, and I hope I don't have to explain it. To me, this is classic defense attorney mindset and comes across extremely victim-blamey. Now, let's fast forward to 2005, when Jackson's case came to court. He faced 14 counts, from child molestation to conspiring to imprison accusers and his family. If he was found guilty, he'd be sentenced to at least 20 years in prison. The trial lasted 14 weeks, and crowds would gather outside the courthouse to cheer for Jackson as if they were front row at a concert. I mean, there's footage of these hordes of people and Jackson jumping on top of cars to wave at them. He's really treating it like a meet and greet. Hollywood journalist Jeannie Wolfe said she saw many people lying in defense of Michael Jackson. Adrienne McManus took the stand at this case, as well as Wade Robson, who you remember was a young child when he was molested and abused by Michael. And in this court case, he was strongly defending Michael, which he, of course, has now done a 180 on after presenting his documentary, Leaving Neverland. After 8 days of deliberation, the jury found Jackson not guilty on all charges. Not guilty on all 14 charges. They said not guilty 14 times. His defense lawyer said, "That was one of the most unique, powerful, unusual experiences of my lifetime." Crowds all over the world celebrated. McManus said she wasn't surprised by the outcome because celebrities can do no wrong in today's world. I have to say I agree with her. I mean, think of all the accounts of abuse by celebrities that they've just gotten away with. People don't want to believe that their idols are bad. Jackson went on to plan his final world tour, the This Is It tour. But 3 weeks before it started, he overdosed on prescription drugs and died. Jeannie Wolfe revisited Jackson's legacy and all of his controversies and accusations in an interview years later, and she says she doesn't think people will ever look at him in the same way, but that his music will never die. But the myth of his innocence is gone. She says it would be very hard not to believe these accusers' stories. They were children, influenced, manipulated, and threatened by Jackson. Tom Mazzaro, his defense attorney, still holds fast that Michael Jackson was the victim, not the boys in his bed at Neverland. He's adamant that Jackson has never molested one single person, saying Michael was just a creative genius who danced to his own drummer. He says he was just eccentric and remains completely innocent. This guy is just completely lying to himself. You can even see in the interviews his kind of stone cold gaze at the camera. He's just been in denial for all these years, and I don't think he's ever coming out of it. So this guy is still convincing himself that after all these accounts and literal video recordings of inappropriate behavior and physical touching, that these individuals who've come forward are just lying. That Jackson is just a target because of his fame and never deserved these accusations at all. Personally, I think it's enough to see all these videos of him holding hands with a bunch of little kids. They're sitting on his lap. He's playing at an amusement park with him. The maid said she saw their underwear in Michael Jackson's bed. What more evidence do we need? McManus insists she is also telling the truth about what went on in Neverland. She said if he was alive now, she would say everything she's saying to his face. That her time in Neverland was hard as an adult, and she can't imagine how difficult it was for the children to speak out or feel empowered at all to ask for help. So that's our episode for today. To me, what went on at Neverland is hardly a conspiracy. In a culture that has silenced and blamed victims for far too long, it's time to not only take into account all the evidence about this case, but to consider all the reasons victims are afraid to speak out, and to find ways to empower, support, and believe them when they ask for help. Thank you for watching Conspiracy Central, and I'll see you next time.